Okay, we're going to be talking about an issue that's near and dear to my heart, so I hope you all have a minute. We're going to be talking about the situation with the Dragon Balls. Not the Dragon Ball cards, but the actual Dragon Balls in the show. Not show, pardon me, in the card game. So, as you know, the Namek Dragon Balls are going to be phased out. That is to say, you won't see them in organized play, at least not for a little bit. And they're going to be replaced with the Earth Dragon Balls. I should go through my roller coaster of feelings that I had when we first started this. At first I thought, what kind of hoo-ha is this? These look terrible. They're terrible. Look at these lame-o effects. All attack steal +1 life card on Earth Dragon Ball 1? I said, oh, this is no good. This is indicative of a terrible slide in the game. They no longer care about me, us Piccolo players. And then after a little bit of time, with the new mastery, coupled with the new Dragon Balls and the synergy between them, I completely changed my mind. I am aware that they fit a more, dare I say, slick version of the Dragon Balls that are maybe not so broken. Because if I was to give a strange critique of the first ones compared to these ones, the first set, of course, is by and large much stronger. But they don't synergize with each other very much. Dragon Balls 1, 2, 3, 1 through 7, they don't have much to do with each other. When you play them, they tend to not sort of like domino into each other in any way. Like we said, it was possible for many decks to run just 1 or 2 Dragon Balls, because why not? So this would be sort of a new thing that would have to be explored in this new set. The new Dragon Balls could synergize better with each other, and out of that synergy gain a new effectiveness. They wouldn't have to be broken on their effect, they simply would have to work better. Coupled with the mastery, I can go ahead and firmly say by a slim margin, I do prefer the Earth Dragon Balls now, just because I feel like I have more potential, more strategic options, and more ability to work off of each other and less about other cards to sort of work on them. You know, your Dragon Radars, your Namekian Dragon Clans, other cards to sort of, push effects out of them. I feel like I could do it with just them. So, we'll start off with Earth Dragon Ball number 1. All continuous effect. All attacks deal +1 life card of damage. When this Dragon Ball is captured, its controller may shuffle it into its owner's life deck. So, a couple of things. Let's say, for sake of argument, you got this Dragon Ball 1. It no longer protects your other Dragon Balls with the sort of protection that Namek Dragon Ball 1 used to. Fine. It also boosts both yours and your opponent's life card damage on your attacks. That can seem like a double-edged sword, but just given the right scenario, you're going to actually get more of a benefit from it. And since it's a symmetrical effect, it has, thankfully, an even effect for both of you. Why I appreciate this is that Namekian style always had a hard time getting critical damage off. We have very few cards that buffed up our damage at all. So having this out there with certain combinations, which I'll just briefly touch on, can really be helpful. Let's say, for sake of argument, you have 3 different Dragon Balls in play. You're achieving the Namekian Radiant Mastery's threshold of 3 Dragon Balls in order to get the damage buff of 2 life cards. Fantastic. If one of those is Earth Dragon Ball 1, you could turn a measly 4 energy attack, 4 life card energy damage attack, to 7 life cards with very little effort. And that simply is unheard of. Between me and you, there is a point at which you simply can overwhelm your opponent, and basically, regardless of endurance, are going to be able to crit them out. So this is good stuff. Thumbs up in a big way. Also, that other effect where if your opponent, mind you, they'll very seldom actually go for Dragon Ball 1 because it's giving them a bit of a bonus. They know if they steal it, you're just going to shuffle it back. So instead of protecting the other Dragon Balls, it simply makes itself the Dragon Ball they don't want to capture. So, awesome. Moving on to Earth Dragon Ball 2, it has a very simple power. Advance or lower your opponent's MP 1 level. You remember, of course, Namek Dragon Ball 2 had the May effect. May is one of the strongest words in the game. They let you have the option if you wanted to de-level your opponent. So, kind of fascinating that this one simply says, if you play me, you better be willing to use me. Which brings out one of my favorite sayings ever. Don't you pull it out unless you're going to use it. So I love Earth Dragon Ball 2. Awesome effect. It basically brought back the spirit. I should say it did bring back the spirit of Namek Dragon Ball 2 without really compromising anything. It doesn't feel broken. Moving on to Earth Dragon Ball 3. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, Dragon Ball 3 is my bread and butter. It is my Dragon Ball 5, or I wouldn't say as good as 7 from the old set, but it's good. It's darn good. I've been working out how to squeeze more uses out of it, and I'm pretty close to being able to squeeze like 2 to 3 uses out of it in sort of a really good series of events. So its power, of course, is to draw the bottom 3 cards of your discard pile, then shuffle 2 of the cards from your hand into your life deck, and then afterwards raise your anger 1 level. So keep in mind that those are 3 very, very interesting things that Namekian style just didn't have. It had a handful of cards that could draw from the bottom, but they're always hit effects, so you don't get as much mileage out of them as you might want to, especially if you throw up a Time as a Warrior's tool, you're not getting anything. So this one says draw the bottom 3 cards of your discard pile. This means you have a pretty wide selection, and it doesn't interfere with your overall counts on your deck. The neat thing is, instead of like straight up rejuvenating, you'll find that your cards go back to the bottom there, and you can tailor your hand. So it's maybe the best of both worlds. It's not rejuvenating, so it's not going to combo and anything like that, so it won't get broken, but it still adds back to your deck in the overall count. And the fact that it's is going to go ahead and raise your anger afterwards is still reminiscent of the Namek Dragon Balls, one of the few that just straight up raises your anger. So if you fight me, be prepared to see Dragon Ball 3 a lot. So that's Dragon Ball 4. This is a strange one. You guys remember, of course, Dragon Ball 4, previously the Namek one, was used even in non-Dragon Ball decks as a tool to get at destroying your opponent's setups and drills outside of combat. So very effective. I saw, like we said, Krellin use them once in a blue moon, different decks. This one is an odd one. It directly targets allies. It says once you play this card, destroy up to 2 allies and destroy the top 2 cards of your opponent's life deck. If you think about it for a second, this replaces the need to have as much anti-ally tech. You're still going to need some, but maybe not as much. And then, of course, it has a miniature version of old Ball 7's effect of destroying the top cards of their deck. So this one will see a lot of play, like I'll say with 3. Like if I have to pull out a Dragon Ball with an effect, if I need to get at my opponent and start knocking a little bit out of them, or I know that they put some card to the back of the top of their deck, that's what I'm shooting for. Okay, Dragon Ball 5. So we were talking again about how do the Dragon Balls synergize with each other. Very well, dare I say. This one says you may shuffle a Dragon Ball and play to its owner's life deck. So I got to talk about utility here. Remember that when you shuffle a Dragon Ball in play, you can use this as a tool to steal your Dragon Balls back without actually stealing them. It gets around effects like Lord Slugs, Garlic Juniors, all that fun stuff about not being able to steal or capture them, I should say. Who's capturing them? We're just shuffling over here. Also, let's say there's nothing like that going on in play. You can simply use it as a tool to recycle your own Dragon Balls. We had to carry kind of a ton of Dragon Ball shuffling tech in the olden days, where we had to have enough tools to be able to keep the Dragon Balls flowing back into the deck so we could keep getting uses out of them. This squeezes them out for you, place it into play, do the shuffle, and then, like we said, line it up to draw it later. So another effect is your main personality gains 3 stages, reminiscent of Dragon Ball 5, of Namek Dragon Ball 5, excellent, not broken. And the last part, of course, is banish 3 cards from your discard pile. Alright, folks, if you played Namekian, you know for a fact you had a problem with dealing with people's discard piles. That for the most part, unless you're going to pack some non-style tech, you're not going to be able to get at their discard pile readily. Lo and behold, we got it built into a Dragon Ball now. Excellent. Okay, Earth Dragon Ball 6. I have a lot to say about this one. It has just a continuous effect. It says, whenever a Dragon Ball you own is banished when taking damage or by an opponent's effect, rejuvenate it. So you guys remember we talked about this? If Broly's blasting the top card of your life deck away, and he hits a Dragon Ball and you got 6 out already, which is easy to do with the newer Radiant Mastery, in fact, just do that, just as a rule of thumb, just pull out Ball 6 as a part of the Radiant Mastery. Just to have it out, make sure that Broly's doing his thing, that he doesn't cripple you. So that's the first thing. Lose a Dragon Ball from a banished effect? Nah, you don't. You get it back. You rejuvenate it. And it says at the end of combat, you may place this card at the bottom of its owner's life deck to rejuvenate 1. So, neat little thing. If I'm level 1 Piccolo from Evolution, at the end of combat, I'd go ahead and put this Dragon Ball 6 underneath. Gets it back out to potentially use the Mastery again to pull out next turn, squeeze the free anger out of it. And remember, I get to rejuvenate 1. In the act of doing so, end of combat, still combat, and I get to raise my anger passively at the end of combat. I adore this card. You see, a lot of what's sort of defining the cards for me, the newer Dragon Balls, is a lot of their parts, a lot of what they do, used to be a part of other cards. You used to have a separate drill or other similar cards in order to achieve certain effects. That, of course, was the same case with Earth Dragon Ball 6, that you could use like information gathering if you wanted to try to recover one, but why go through the trouble? Why not keep it from getting banished altogether? Dragon Ball 7's exactly that. One, it has a Namekian Wish built into it, but can be used as an action during combat. That's highly reminiscent, if not an identical effect, to the Dragon Ball 7 from Score Z, where you used to be able to play it from your hand to end combat. So this one does that, but as a once per game effect, which is awesome and completely reasonable. I'd really, really not want to see this as a continuous effect that doesn't have that once per game limit. I can just foresee the hate that would eventually come our way towards Namekians, or how dare you guys continuously end combat like a bunch of jerks. So, speaking of Dragon Balls sort of embodying entire other cards into them effect-wise, this Ball 7 actually has a shocking drill built into it. That's the one that says, once per turn as an action, you may place a Dragon Ball from your hand into play. So let's say you have used the Mastery to pull out Ball 7. You know you have like a different Dragon Ball in your hand. Mastery delivers you, with Radiant Mastery, delivers you 1 anger, and then use the effect of Ball 7 to put the other card in your other Dragon Ball in your hand into play. 2 anger. It means that you're going to have a lot less dead hands when it comes to Dragon Balls. Can't help you with other stuff, but it's completely reasonable and workable to get around bad spots. Give you that last little boost to anger to get you over the top. So you probably have noticed I gushed over a lot of these. I said that they are strategically better than the other Dragon Balls because they actually interact with each other. They actually have something to do with each other. Pulling one out at a certain time will actually help you compared to, say, pulling out a random Ball 6 and a random Ball 4. They don't really have anything to do with each other. What's the point? Final verdict is they are perfectly balanced compared to what I was expecting. They completely fit the new flow of the game, and I just can't wait to see how many cards pull Dragon Balls into play. I feel like with some of the previews I saw, that's going to be the biggest deal. I just hope that the tech comes along that lets you protect them more often, more than just reinforce block. It'd be really nice to see. Thanks for your time. Tune in again for the final wrap-up of a bunch of ends and pieces of this particular game.